We are back. It's the Alex Jones Show. I'm Jason Bermas sitting in as Alex is on assignment. I want to remind everybody, this week we launched the incredible free iPhone app. No cash. So you type in Infowars, you type in Alex Jones. Don't pay for any apps. Get our free Listen Live app. Maybe you're listening right now. Maybe you just tuned in. You've got an iPhone, but you're about to take a trip. Well, that's great. Get on your iPhone. Type in Alex Jones, get the app, put in your 3.5 jack, and listen wherever you go. I'm so excited about this Alex Jones iPhone app. I know it's going to be coming to the BlackBerries and everything else probably in the next couple of weeks, but it's another way for us to reach an even larger audience, Richard.
Absolutely. I'm really excited about that, too. I came onto the iPod, downloading the iPod, the podcast, etc., 2 or 3 years ago, and it's a great thing. I remember, I can't tell you how many shortwave radios that I used to use out in my car and damage the antenna because I'd hit my power window button and it'd get bent up as the power window's going up. So those days of having to struggle to get truth and freedom-oriented broadcasts like Alex Jones, GCNlive.com, etc., that was very difficult, and now it keeps getting easier and easier, but we've got to use this while we've got it, because as you stated earlier in this program, the Internet is subject to being cut off at any time. That's just like our banking system. The powers that be, the New World Order, they can flip a few switches, and all of a sudden, no cash at the ATMs. We've seen things like that happen in Iceland. You were talking about the biometric scanning going on in Afghanistan. We saw back, I guess, in around 2001 era that Argentina basically going belly up and all the things that happened there. We cannot continue to wait any longer, because pretty soon that front page news around the world that there's just destitution and poverty everywhere will be the story about right here in the USA, right here in Austin, Texas. And this audience, though, I've got to say, congratulations that you're listening. This is the most important political audience on the face of the earth. If there's another one, I want to know about it, because there cannot be. I've been a talk radio junkie for many years because of my career as a driver, and this is it. This is the audience that's going to make the difference. I want to congratulate the folks that are out there and download the podcast, get that iPhone app, etc.
They really are the most read, the most learned, and the most active of any audience out there.
This is the largest organic intelligence agency on the planet. The CIA, the Mossad, all these different MI5, MI6, they only wish they could have the assets that we have, because the information that flows right through here, through that chair with Alex Jones and you and that microphone, is incredible and amazing, to say the least.
Oh, thank you so much, man. You just mentioned the MI5. I thought I'd hit this headline. Top judge Binyam Muhammad case shows MI5 to be devious, dishonest, and get this, complicit in torture. Who knew? We did. We've been telling you that the MI5, MI6, CIA, ISI, all part of the same Anglo-American establishment, all part of the international intelligence organization that will work hook or by crook with terrorists, murderers, killers. They like these sycophants. I mean, they recruit them.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. They proffer their military-industrial complex this way. I mean, we've seen that, the problem-reaction solution over and over. It's been discussed, the Hegelian dialectic, where if they create the crisis, they can come in with a solution. And these intelligence agencies over and over and over are right there in the midst of these false flag operations. And that's one reason, you can harken back to JFK, that one of the big toes that he stepped on before his assassination was that he wanted to do away with the CIA and the intelligence.
Break it into 1,000 different pieces, Richard.
Right. And so, you step on some big toes when you start stepping on the Federal Reserve boys, that they're connected with the intelligence agencies. He stepped on some of the oil boys down here in Texas. You step on all those toes, and all of a sudden, look what happened. So, but the thing of it is, now with so many more people getting wise to the situation, there are too many of us to put it away, to put away the truth. There are too many of us. So what we need to do now is just keep charging forward, keep InfoWarrior, like you were talking about earlier, going down to San Antonio at the tea parties there. We just keep on pressing, and we will be victorious if we just keep moving forward on that.
Absolutely. Let's take some callers. Let's go to Karen in Oregon. Karen, you're online. Yes, Karen.
What we're calling for at taxfree15.com is a national strike for 4 days, April 15th through April 18th, with those of us who can on the 19th presenting the signed articles of freedom with Bob Schultz's group, or signed petitions for state sovereignty to our state officials. We feel that so many things out there have gone so poorly. And as long as we keep going about our lives as regular and normal, pretending somebody else will save us, it's not going to happen. So we're calling for a complete and total withdrawal of support and finances for 4 consecutive days at taxfree15.com.
Well, I like how you've done that on April 15th. You definitely picked a great date to do that, and I wish you all the best. What do you think, Richard?
April 15th is absolutely the perfect day. I used to be a truck driver, and truck drivers basically you get treated like a second-class citizen right there because you're really kind of at the forefront of the New World Order in their operations with their commercial driver's license, their CDLs, their documentation. They want a 10-year work history if you get a job. They really, and that was back in 97 when I got out. I got out of that industry. But I tell you, you really got a taste of being a second-class citizen as a truck driver. And one thing I want to caution people is, yes, we need to do some kind of general strike like that or whatever, but I think we need to limit it to maybe a day, like April 15th is the ideal day, because it was so hard to wrangle those independent cats. So many of them are just over broke in the trucking industry that despite the fact that they were all going broke, to get them organized to do a week-long event or anything like that was just, oh, yeah, they would sign on for it, but then they wouldn't do it when it comes time to do it because, hey, they got to put bread on the table. They got to feed their family.
And we're a debtor nation now.
And we're a debtor nation.
We're a debtor nation.
So I think great idea. Limit it to one day to where you really pound on it and don't do business like she was saying. I think something like that's going to really happen. That idea has been talked about many times, and it's building up to that. And if we could do it for 4 days or a week, it would be outstanding. But people aren't, I just don't know if we're ready for that quite yet. But the one-day thing on April 15th, I think a lot of people would get down with that program.
Well, people need to realize, our grandparents and some of our parents, depending on how old you are out there, they saved. They bought things when they could afford things. They didn't just get a credit card or get a mortgage and then all of a sudden they're in debt. We, as a people, no longer have any wealth to ourselves. Very few of us save. Very few of us have a savings account. There are so many people out there that are on, check to check. They're living paycheck to paycheck to paycheck. And you're seeing it more and more in families with 2 or 3 children where they would have been middle class 10, 20, 30 years ago. They're destitute. They're almost broke. They're about to have their home repossessed. So it's time to really rethink how we're living as a society. It's not time to go out and get that new credit card so you can afford the iPad when it launches. It's time to put that money away and maybe invest in some gold or silver or storable foods, or maybe a solar panel and a Cola Blue, something to make yourself a little more independent and a little more off the grid.
That's right. I mean, we see the centralization going on all around us on everything, whether it's energy, whether it's fuel, whether it's food, whether it's, you name it, housing. It's like they try to put us in the compact cities. So it just never ends on the avenues of attack that we're being confronted with. So that's exactly right. We need to do as much as we can to be more independent. We need to push back on that to where we are more independent, growing our own food, having our own place to live out in the country. But at the same time, they make it harder and harder because they've run this money system on us for so long and, like you said, gotten so many people into the trap of being debtors because that's how they enslave so many people, not just here in the United States, but around the world. Not just people, too, but entire countries as well.
Well, I remember being blown away as a 17-year-old kid graduating high school, and I went to, the open house for my college the summer before. And right there as I'm, signing up for my meal card and or my identification card, so that you go to the meal hall and swipe for your things. And what was the other thing? On my email account, there are sign-ups for credit cards. Right? I mean, as you're going there to go to school, they're trying to sign up 17 and 18-year-olds to get their first credit card. I don't know about you, Richard, but I wasn't the most responsible fiscally at 17 and 18 years old, and the system banks on that sort of attitude.
That's right. They love the college graduates by design coming out $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 in debt with student loans, credit card loans, etc. That enslaves them. That disempowers them from being active. It means that they've got to get their nose to the grindstone to feed themselves, to clothe and house themselves and their families. that limits the ability to be out there and be active. Because let me tell you, being politically active takes a toll on you. It takes the time. It takes the effort. I know you've done it. You've been out there. And so, folks, I just have to say, you've got to make that sacrifice now. You've got to allot some time. I know most people, if you've got a couple of kids or whatever, that's like 2 full-time jobs. Full-time job per kid, and then you've got a full-time job to work to put bread on the table. That's like 3 full-time jobs. Well, I'll tell you what, there's a 4th part-time job or 5th part-time. There's a part-time job you need to take on, and that's bringing back and saving this republic here in Texas and the country.
I agree with you 100%. Let's go to another caller. Jim in Virginia. Jim, you're on the line.
Hey, good afternoon, Jason and Richard. I wanted to kind of get into a little bit about the Glenn Beck. Was not too sure about what to make of him. Then I heard this interview he did with Deborah Medina, and there's no question that he's just a complete phony, and he had only one purpose, and that was to knock her down.